I'll start my presentation in a minute. Is my presentation visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. I'm honored to present my paper titled Colonial Encounters and Transformation of Indigenous Performance Tradition, a study of Mamang Dai's select fiction. So I'll start with the introduction and the historical context first. So what my paper explores is how colonialism reshaped the ritual and performance tradition of tribal communities in Arunachal Pradesh, and how Mamang Dai's fiction served both as a cultural archive and as a site of resistance for indigenous communities. Performance traditions such as dance, chant, ritual ceremony, and oral storytelling are far more than artistic expression, and how that changed after the colonial disruption in Northeast India. The first point is the British expansion, how colonial authorities came here and disrupted the tribal autonomy, imposing the administrative control over previously self-governing communities in Arunachal Pradesh. And since I've taken Mamang Dai as the research part. So she herself belongs to Adi tribe, and she uses her novels, The Black Hill and Escaping the Land, and many other novels to illustrate the transformative impact of British colonial presence on these living cultural practices. Through her fiction, what she does is she shows that even when ritual were disrupted or suppressed, the tradition survived through adaptation, reinvention, and narrative preservation. Then we have missionary intervention. They systematically targeted indigenous rituals and belief systems, reframing them as superstitious and requiring conversion and civilization. And this is where Spivak's epistemological violence comes in, where they stop the knowledge coming out of the marginalized group. And then we have social reconstruction, where new hierarchies and religious conversion fundamentally alter traditional practices, yet the communities responded through strategic adaptation rather than complete abandonment. They did not abandon their rituals at all. And then we have creative resistance. And Mamang Dai here also demonstrate indigenous communities did not simply lose their traditions. Instead, they adapted to it, and rituals were reshaped. Storytelling became a mode of healing, and performance took on a new political meaning in the face of colonial intrusion. The aims and objectives here are transformation analysis, modes of resistance, and literature working as archive. Literature itself becomes a part of performance, the tradition. The first one is transformation analysis, that examines how colonial contact reshaped indigenous performance traditions whilst communities maintained cultural continuity through creative adaptation. Then we have modes of resistance. To understand how Mamang Dai portrays ritual, oral narratives, and dance as a subtle yet powerful form of cultural resistance and identity preservation. And her novel carries the rhythm of spoken storytelling, repetition, cyclic structure, communal violence, and mythic undertones. Her writing performs culture on the page. This is what I'm saying, literature as archive, that her writing performs culture on the page, allowing indigenous cadence to resonate through English. And this stylistic choice bridges the gap between oral and written tradition and affirms that literature can become a continuation of performance. Coming on to the introduction, that is performance as memory and resistance. Colonial rule profoundly disrupted indigenous identities and ritual practices across Northeast India, yet communities found a way to preserve their cultural essence through adaptation. And performance tradition in Arunachal Pradesh are not merely artistic expression, they embody spirituality, ecological knowledge, and collective values that define tribal identity. Then coming on to indigenous performance traditions, that is the embodied language, that is the living practices. So the Ponang dance ceremonies connect communities with ancestral spirits and natural cycles, and this is what was questioned by the 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 people coming from outside. We were colonized and they were questioning all these rituals and traditions. Then we have Miri chants that transmit ecological wisdom and moral codes across generation. Then we have ritual performance creates dialogue between living ancestors and the land itself. Performance in the science fiction, which I've taken, the two novels, is not a static relic of past but a dynamic strategy of resistance. Then we have the oral rhythms in written forms, which Mamang uses. That is the oral rhythms used by her in the novels, the mythic blending, and she uses multi-voiced narration. That is, the prose mimics oral performance, fluid, polyphonic, and non-linear, honoring indigenous ways. And here we see that the fiction functions as a literary archive of indigenous performance tradition, and the archive that freezes culture in time. And her novel reanimate ritual chants and sacred landscape, ensuring that these practices continue to evolve. And I have used Homi K. Bhabha's concept of hybridity, where cultural identity is forged in spaces of negotiation and transformation here. Then we have colonial transformation, redefining sacred rituals like rituals, space control, and gendered resistance. Coming on to the conclusion, Mamang Dai's The Black Hill and Escaping the Land reveals how colonialism transformed indigenous performance tradition in Arunachal Pradesh and how these traditions endured through adaptation and narrative reinvention. That's it. Thank you for your kind listening.